Hey there. Today we are going to take a different approach to retirement planning. So instead of getting overwhelmed with the endless complexities, we're going to simplify retirement planning by looking at what makes it challenging and then working our way back from there. But before I do that, if you're new to the channel, I'm Jonathan Rankin, the founder of Theorem Wealth, and we are a retirement planning focused wealth management firm. And I've been helping people plan and execute their retirement goals for going on 20 years now. So welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for us, and that way you're not going to miss any of our retirement planning videos or episodes of our retirement podcast called The Retire Once Show. And if you've been following us for a while, welcome back. So to find a simpler path to retirement, we first have to explore, why is retirement planning so hard? And for many people, the concept of retirement planning itself can be extremely overwhelming. Over the course of my career, I've talked to thousands of people who are planning their retirement, and these are the top 3 challenges that I've seen people struggle with when working towards their retirement. The first challenge that people struggle with is the concept of sacrificing today for an unknown future. Now, this is really a mindset that really makes it hard for people to really commit to their long-term retirement. I mean, how many times do we hear phrases like, life is short, live today like it's your last, or the new one, you only live once? While all of these are true, you really don't hear people saying things like carpe tomorrow or next year. And nobody's out there really saying seize your 70s. I mean, it is really this mindset that's caused the biggest issue when it comes to retirement planning, and that is how much to save. Being a disciplined saver is the hardest part of retirement planning because it's something that nobody else can do for you or really help you with. I mean, I could tell you all day long how much you should save, but guess what? I can't stop you from spending that money. Now, once you come to the realization that it is a sacrifice to save and plan for an unknown future, it's going to help you figure out what your why is. Now, this concept of finding your why or your purpose has gained a lot of popularity over the last decade, especially because of thought leaders like Simon Sinek. Regardless of how cheesy or skeptical you may be about digging deep and getting all touchy-feely to figure out why you're doing what you're doing, it really will help you, especially with retirement planning. I mean, why are you saving? And most people, they're going to answer that question by saying something like, well, I'm saving because I eventually want to retire. Well, yeah, but why? Why do you want to retire? Is it because you don't like your job, or is it because you just want to stop working in general? Or is there a version of your life that you envision for yourself? If you're struggling with having to sacrifice a lifestyle today, because that's what it is, when you're putting money out of your bank account or out of your paycheck into a retirement savings vehicle, you're sacrificing what that money could be used for today for an unknown tomorrow. Think about your why. Figure out, why do you want to retire? If the answer is, maybe I never want to retire. Okay, there are some people who just never want to retire, and that's their goal. That's what brings them joy. Their work brings them joy. And if that's you, great. But if you eventually want to retire, do you really know why? Have you really thought about, what is the purpose of this money? It is for retirement, but what does that really mean? And that brings me to the second challenge that people struggle with. And that is, there are just too many choices, decisions, and opinions out there, and it can be extremely overwhelming. Because when planning for your retirement, you have so many decisions that you have to make, from how much you save to what type of account you're saving in, to when should you even retire. And that's just one of the hundreds, if not thousands, of questions and decisions that you have to come up with. The noise that social media creates just adds fuel to that pile of stress. Social media does a great job of keeping people connected, but it does a better job at one other thing, and that is making you question whether or not you're doing the right things. And that's not just with retirement planning. It could be with anything. If you're interested in fitness, social media is going to feed you post after post telling you that you aren't eating the right things or working out the right way. I've noticed it with parenting. When my parents raised me, or you probably raised your kids, the examples of parenting that you got was what you saw in your social environment, your neighborhood, the people that you grew up with or people that you lived around. Now, there's post after post of how you can damage your kid if you talk to them a certain way, or if you're feeding them the wrong things. It's going to make you question everything. It's going to make me question, am I doing a good job? Am I a good dad to my 2 kids? I feel like it gets so much worse when you turn to the financial side of things. I've seen videos that talk about how a 401k is a bad thing because the wealthy don't invest like that or save like that. And it turns out that what they were selling in that post was some sort of insurance product. Now, social media for financial advice is extremely hard and complicated because registered financial advisors like us are regulated by the SEC and FINRA, and we've got strict guidelines of what we can and cannot say. And then you have this entire unregulated side of people on social media. They can just say whatever they want. They're unregulated. Nobody's telling them that they can or can't say this. And for the saver, for the investor, it's really hard to determine what's good advice and what's not. What's advice from a professional and what's just mumbo jumbo from some random person. That's the hard part, because always constantly feeling like whether or not you're doing enough and you're saving the right way or you're saving in the right type of account can make you question everything. There's just too many questions around retirement planning that you don't want to have to rethink and re-question whether or not you're doing the right things. And that brings me to the last challenge that people struggle with when planning their retirement. That's investing. Investing can be extremely hard and complicated. Just think about where we're at right now. If we were having a conversation a year ago, and I told you the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates to over 5%, the 30-year mortgage is going to get to over 7%, we're going to be a profits recession and in an inverted yield curve environment, which, by the way, has signaled every single recession we've had, my guess is that you wouldn't think the market would even be flat, let alone positive. Now there are even bold headlines out there declaring that it's time to invest like it's 2021. And if all of that sounds confusing to you, it's because it is. And those are just three of the many things that make retirement planning hard. So how can you make retirement planning easier? Well, the first thing you could do is ignore the noise. Run your own race. There is no need to compare your situation to anybody else's. I get asked all the time, how does my situation compare to others? And the reality is that's irrelevant. Those lists that pop up about the average 401k balance, I've seen people retire with less than $100,000 saved and live happier in retirement than somebody with millions of dollars. Your race is your race, and that's it. And the next thing you do is you can create your own plan of action. This is creating a plan for everything that you should be doing, how much you should be saving, what type of accounts you should be saving in, when you should collect Social Security, when you should even retire. Everything that is unique to you and your financial life. Creating a plan that is tailored to you will help answer all of those unknowns in a predetermined fashion. So you know in a few years when you should retire. You know at some point when you should take Social Security. All those things will be answered for you by creating that plan of action. The next thing you do to make retirement easier is focus on what you control. You control how you execute number two. You control how you execute your plan of action. The most successful retirement savers that I've ever seen invest for the long term and understand that they can't control the markets. They focus on their savings and what part of their plan they can execute and not the market swings. They've never said the words macroeconomic environment, let alone try to change their portfolio based on it. And the last thing you could do to really simplify your retirement planning efforts is seek help from a professional. Having a dedicated advisor is going to help you address the important things and reduce the confusion. If you don't know where to start, you can use the link in the description below, and a member of our team would be happy to help walk you through everything you need to know about your specific retirement plan. Because retirement planning doesn't have to be complicated or as hard as it sometimes seems. And if you are focused on retirement, make sure you check out this episode of our retirement podcast where we discuss what determines a successful retirement. I'll see you there.